I spent 6 months perfecting my design. My boss called it a game changer. 2 weeks later, I'm fired for poor performance. And, the next day, my design is on the company website with his name on it. That was his biggest mistake. My name is Lorenzo. I'm 28 years old, and for 2 years, I poured my soul into creative tech solutions. Every morning I'd walk through those glass doors with fire in my eyes and innovation in my mind. As a UX designer, I wasn't just creating interfaces, I was crafting experiences that touched people's lives. The sleek office, the buzz of creativity, the late nights fueled by espresso shots and pure passion. This was my kingdom. Marcus Rodriguez, my boss, was 45 years old with salt and pepper hair that made him look distinguished and wise. At first, he seemed like everything a mentor should be. He'd pat my shoulder after presentations, his deep voice booming across the conference room, "Lorenzo, you're the future of this company." But beneath that charm, I started noticing the calculating look in his eyes, the way they'd narrow when I shared my most innovative ideas. The project that consumed my life was unlike anything the industry had seen before. 6 months of pure obsession, working through weekends, sacrificing relationships, all for one revolutionary app interface that could change how millions of people connected with technology. I called it Nexus, a design so intuitive, so elegant, that using it felt like the app was reading your mind. Marcus would hover over my shoulder during late nights, watching the magic unfold on my screen. "This is brilliant, Lorenzo," he'd say, his breath smelling of expensive scotch. "You're onto something that will make us millions." But as Nexus took shape, something darker emerged in Marcus. The praise became mechanical, delivered in meetings for show. Behind closed doors, he'd criticize minor details, his voice growing cold. "That shade of blue isn't quite right," he'd say about elements that were perfect. "The animations need more refinement." It was as if my success threatened something deep within him. I'd catch him studying my work with an intensity that made my skin crawl. When I'd ask for his input, he'd deflect. "You're the creative genius here, Lorenzo. Keep pushing boundaries." Looking back, I should have seen the warning signs. The way he started asking for all my working files for backup purposes. The sudden interest in the most minute details of my design process. The questions about which specific tools and methods I used. But I was blind. Blinded by trust. Blinded by the dream that together we were building something extraordinary. That final week before everything shattered, Marcus seemed almost nervous. His usual swagger was replaced by restlessness. Every time we crossed paths in the hallway, his smile felt forced, his handshake too firm. "Almost there, Lorenzo," he'd say, his eyes not meeting mine. "Almost there." I believed him. God help me. I believed every word. The day came when I finally presented Nexus to Marcus privately. We were alone in his office, the city lights painting our shadows across the polished desk. With trembling hands, not from fear, but from pure excitement, I unveiled 6 months of my life. The interface flowed like liquid gold, every gesture and animation perfectly orchestrated. Marcus's pupils dilated as he watched. His breathing quickened. "Lorenzo," he whispered, leaning forward, This is beyond anything I imagined." His fingers traced the air, mimicking the gestures on the screen. "I need the master files, all of them, for safe keeping." The word hung in the air like a noose. I should have questioned it, but euphoria made me stupid. I transferred everything to his secure drive. Every PSD, every code file, every revision that had cost me sleep and sanity. The next week, Marcus became someone else entirely. Previously warm morning greetings turned to curt nods. My presentations were dissected with surgical precision. "Your work is becoming sloppy, Lorenzo," he'd say, pointing at projects I'd completed flawlessly months ago. Other designers were promoted past me. My name disappeared from client meetings. It was systematic character assassination, and I was too shocked to defend myself. Then came that Friday, October 13th. The irony still haunts me. I arrived to find my access card denied. Security guard Mike, who'd greeted me for 2 years, couldn't meet my eyes. "I'm sorry, Lorenzo. Orders from above." That's when I received it, the email that shattered my world. "Dear Lorenzo, your performance has been consistently below our company's standards. Effective immediately, your employment is terminated." The words blurred together, each one a dagger. No warning, no meeting, just digital erasure. 2 days later, unable to eat or sleep, I opened LinkedIn to begin my job search. And there it was, a post from Creative Tech Solutions. My heart stopped. The revolutionary Nexus interface glowed on my screen, but the caption read, "CEO Marcus Rodriguez unveils his groundbreaking design that will reshape the industry." His name, his design, my life's work stolen with corporate precision. I sat alone in my apartment, the walls closing in. My hands shook, not with fear, but with rage. Every pixel on that screen represented hours of my life, dreams of my future. Marcus had stolen more than my work. He'd stolen my identity. The rage built like a volcano, hot lava rising in my throat. I punched the wall, knuckles splitting, blood matching the rage in my vision. That night, I made a decision that would change everything. The rage that consumed me for 72 hours transformed into something far more dangerous. Clarity. I wasn't going to scream or sue immediately. I was going to systematically dismantle Marcus Rodriguez piece by piece. In the dim light of my apartment, surrounded by pizza boxes and energy drink cans, I became someone else. Lorenzo the designer died that week. What emerged was Lorenzo the strategist. First, I called Sarah Chen, an investigative tech journalist I'd met at a conference. "I've got a story that'll win you a Pulitzer," I whispered into the phone at 3 a.m. Her sharp intake of breath told me she smelled blood. She'd always suspected something fishy about Marcus's meteoric rise. "Document everything," she instructed. So I did. Every email exchange, every timestamp, every metadata file proving when I created each element of Nexus. But here's the brilliant part. I remembered Marcus had forced other designers out before. I tracked them down. Jamie, a brilliant animator fired 6 months ago. Priya, a UX researcher dismissed last year. Raphael, fired the month before me. Each had a story of stolen work, intellectual property vanishing into Marcus's portfolio. We formed a silent army of the betrayed. The metadata on the files was damning. My signature was embedded in every line of code, every design layer. But I needed more. I discovered IP laws have teeth, sharp ones. I consulted a lawyer who specialized in intellectual property theft. "This is clear-cut," he said, eyes gleaming behind expensive glasses. "But let's be smart about timing." Meanwhile, I fed information to potential investors through anonymous accounts. Whispers at tech meetups. Carefully placed doubts at networking events. Did you know the real genius behind that interface? The seeds of doubt grew into forests of suspicion. The masterstroke came when I learned about the presentation. Marcus had scheduled a $50 million investment pitch for next month. I knew the VPs and board members from company events. I crafted careful emails to key board members, attaching anonymous concerns about the true origin of Nexus. I didn't sign my name. I let their paranoia do the work. But revenge wasn't enough. As I planned Marcus's downfall, I was also building something magnificent. Working 18-hour days in my apartment turned war room, I developed Nexus 2.0. Everything Marcus thought he owned was just the foundation. The real innovation was yet to come. I improved every aspect, added features that would make the original look primitive. Stealth mode. 2 weeks before the presentation, I finally confronted my anger. Standing before the mirror at midnight, eyes red from lack of sleep, I made peace with myself. This isn't just revenge, I told my reflection. This is justice. The difference was crucial. Revenge would have left me empty. Justice would leave me victorious. The stage was set. Every piece moved into position like a chess grandmaster's final gambit. Marcus had no idea that his greatest moment was about to become his most spectacular fall. I had learned something profound. Power doesn't come from anger. It comes from channeling that anger into calculated action. The countdown had begun, and Lorenzo the strategist was about to show the world what true innovation really looked like. The morning of Marcus's presentation dawned like Judgment Day. At 6 a.m., my phone buzzed. Sarah had dropped the article. Tech CEO accused of massive design theft. Multiple victims come forward. The story exploded across the internet like digital napalm. Within an hour, it had gone viral, spreading through every tech channel, every social network. My phone buzzed with notifications as the world watched my stolen design become Marcus's scarlet letter. I'd positioned myself in a cafe across from Creative Tech headquarters with a perfect view. At 8:30 a.m., I watched Marcus arrive in his Tesla, checking his phone. The moment he saw the article, his face drained of color. He nearly dropped his phone on the marble steps. Security cameras caught his confusion as he entered the building, unknowing that board members had called an emergency meeting an hour earlier. By 9:15 a.m., I received the call. "Lorenzo, this is Patricia from HR. We need you to come in immediately." The satisfaction in her voice was poorly concealed. When I arrived, the entire executive team was assembled in the glass-walled conference room. Marcus sat slumped at the head of the table, looking like a marionette with cut strings. "Mr. Lorenzo," the CEO began, "we owe you an apology and an explanation." Marcus looked up, our eyes meeting for the first time since the betrayal. The fury in his gaze was matched by cold triumph in mine. "You did this," he spat, his composure shattering. "You orchestrated everything." "No, Marcus," I replied, voice steady as steel. "You did this when you destroyed my trust, when you stole my work, when you thought you could erase me." I placed the evidence folder on the table. Every file, every metadata tag, every timestamp. "The board has already reviewed the proof." He lunged across the table, but security restrained him. "You little—" His curse was cut short as reality crashed down. The investors had already withdrawn their interest. 3 major clients had threatened to jump ship. His wife, notified by a zealous reporter, had frozen their joint accounts. The board offered me everything: Marcus's position, a 40% raise, stock options, unlimited creative control. But I had one more surprise. "I appreciate the offer," I said, pulling out my resignation letter, "but I'm starting my own company, and I've already secured funding." The bombshell detonated perfectly. $20 million, Series A, based on Nexus 2.0, the superior version I've been developing. As I left that room, I did something I never thought I would. I extended my hand to Marcus. When he grabbed it, perhaps seeking some final reconciliation, I squeezed with all the strength of my vindication. "Thank you," I whispered, so only he could hear. "You taught me my greatest lesson. Sometimes the worst betrayal leads to the best revenge." 3 months later, my startup, Vortex Innovations, launched Nexus 2.0. It redefined user experience design, securing partnerships with Microsoft and Google. Meanwhile, Creative Tech Solutions lost 60% of its market value. Marcus's professional network ostracized him. His wife filed for divorce. He became a cautionary tale in business schools. But here's the profound truth I discovered. True victory isn't in watching your enemy fall. It's in rising higher than you ever could have if they hadn't pushed you. Marcus didn't just steal my design. He unwittingly catalyzed my evolution from an employee to an entrepreneur, from a victim to a victor. As I stand in my own glass office now, overlooking the city that once swallowed my dreams, I often think about that night when rage transformed into clarity. The best revenge isn't just served cold, it's served with the sophistication of someone who turned their deepest betrayal into their greatest triumph. That's the lesson, dear audience. When someone steals your work, they're actually gifting you an opportunity they could never have imagined. They've set the stage for your greatest comeback story. Just remember to write it with style, execute it with precision, and leave them wondering how they ever thought they could contain your brilliance. The truth always rises, justice always finds a way, and karma? Well, karma has a memory that would make an elephant jealous.